Picture this. It's June 12th, 2026. The sun has already set over Busan, South Korea's second-largest city, a coastal city built on mountains, bridges, and the sea. The air is warm and thick with anticipation. Thousands of people have gathered along Gwangali Beach in the Swyong district, lining the shore, sitting on the sand, standing shoulder to shoulder on every walkway and open ledge overlooking the water. They've come from all over the world, from France, from Brazil, from Indonesia, from the United States, from Japan, from Australia, all drawn to the single stretch of beachfront on a Thursday night in June. And they are all looking up, not at fireworks, not at a stage, not at a screen, at the sky, because something is about to happen up there that most of them have never seen before in their lives. Something that, once you see it, you simply cannot unsee. If you are new here, welcome. If you have been with us for a while, you already know that when it comes to BTS, we do not skip a single moment. And this moment, this is one of the most stunning things to happen in the entire history of this group. So let's get into it. But before we do, if you have not subscribed yet, this is your sign. Hit that button. Turn on the notification bell. Because the kind of content we are about to cover today is exactly why this channel exists. Let's start from the beginning, because the story of that night above Gwangali Beach does not begin on June 12th. It begins months earlier, the moment BTS announced their return. When Big Hit Music confirmed that the Arirang World Tour would make a stop in Busan, Jimin's hometown and Jungkook's hometown, the city where two of the most beloved artists on the planet were born and raised, the entire BTS fandom collectively lost its breath. This was not just another concert stop. Busan is personal. Busan is home. And the city itself knew it. From the moment the announcement was made official, Busan began preparing not just for a concert, but for a homecoming on a scale the city had never seen before. The citywide project was officially called BTS The City Arirang Busan. It ran from June 5th through June 21st, 2026, and it turned the entire city of Busan into an extension of the Arirang album's world. We are not talking about a few banners near the stadium. We are talking about media art walls at Busan Station. We are talking about BTS music videos playing on the giant digital billboards at Grand Joseon Busan. We are talking about Gwangan Bridge, Busan Harbor Bridge, and the Swyong Human Bridge, all glowing red, the color of the new album, every night during the festival period. The big roof at Busan Cinema Center became a lighting art installation. Port Village was transformed into a cultural and food festival hub. Every corner of this city told you, BTS is home. But the crown jewel of the entire citywide celebration, the moment that would ultimately break the internet, was the drone show. And that is what we are here to talk about today. The official drone show was titled BTS The City Arirang Busan, and it was led by HYB as the centerpiece of the City Busan project. It was designed as a tribute, both to the global army who had traveled thousands of miles to be there, and to the people of Busan who have watched Jimin and Jungkook grow from local kids into worldwide icons. The show was scheduled for the night sky above Gwangali Beach, in the waters off Swyong district. And the technical scale of it, 1,000 drones, 1,000 individual flying machines, each one carrying a light, each one programmed to move with absolute precision, coordinating in real time to paint images in the sky that no human hand could ever replicate. To put this in context, the Gwangali Drone Light Show has been one of South Korea's most celebrated nighttime tourism events for 5 years running. It holds the title as the crown jewel of Korean night tourism. But this BTS special edition was something on an entirely different level. Now let's talk about what actually happened that night. Because if you were not there, and even if you were there, the details of this show deserve to be told slowly and carefully because every single element of it was intentional. As darkness settled over Gwangali Beach, the drones began to rise. 1,000 lights lifted off the ground and moved upward over the sea. And in that moment, before any formation had even been created, the sight was already breathtaking. The Gwangan Bridge stretched across the background, its elegant lights reflecting on the water below. The contrast between the ancient beauty of the sea and the precision of the technology above it was already, in itself, a piece of art. And then the music started. The drones moved to the sound of BTS's new song, Swim, one of the standout tracks from the Arirang album, a track that has already proven to be one of the most emotionally resonant pieces of music this group has ever recorded. And as Swim played across the beach, filling the warm night air with its sound, the drones began their first formation. In giant letters visible from hundreds of meters away, they spelled it out across the sky. Hello Army. 2 words. 4,000 light years of love compressed into 2 words, written not in ink on a page but in light above the ocean of a city that 2 of the members call home. The crowd on the beach responded the way only ARMY can respond. If you have ever been to a BTS event, a concert, a fan meeting, an airport arrival, you know the sound that ARMY makes when they are overwhelmed. It is not just screaming. It is something deeper. A wave of emotion that starts in the chest and moves outward into the air. That is what Gwangalli Beach sounded like in that moment. And then, and this is the part that is almost impossible to describe in words, so I am going to try my best, the drones transitioned into something no one had ever seen done at this scale before. They began to draw faces. Pixel by pixel, light by light, the 1,000 drones repositioned themselves with a precision that reporters who covered the event later described as mocking the technical limits of the drone show. One by one, the faces of all 7 BTS members appeared in the night sky above Gwangalli Beach. Not cartoons, not logos, not simple silhouettes. Actual lifelike portraits, detailed enough to capture each member's individual features. The curve of a jaw, the line of hair, the unique expression that belongs to each of them and no one else. Each face appeared one after the other, each one greeted by the crowd below with a new wave of sound and emotion. The first member's face appeared in the sky like a sunrise. Slowly, deliberately, the drones finding their places and locking into formation until the image was complete, floating hundreds of meters above the water, visible from the beach and from across the bay. According to reports from Korean media, who cover the event in detail, the construction of each face was described as the zenith of tech art, the point at which technology and art are no longer separate things but become a single unified expression. And when Jimin's face appeared in the sky above his hometown, above the city where he grew up, the beaches he walked as a child, the streets where he became the artist he is today, the reaction from the crowd was something that defies ordinary language. This was not simply a fan watching their favorite artist. This was a city looking up at one of its own suns, drawn in light, suspended above the sea, on the eve of his homecoming concert. One observer described that specific moment as the night sky transforming into a space of emotion where the narrative BTS has walked crossed with the fans' passion. That is not press release language. That is what people felt in their bodies, standing on that beach. As the second song in the drone show soundtrack began, Microcosmos, a BTS track that has long held a special place in the ARMY fandom for its message about the light that every individual person carries, the emotional temperature of everything happening on Gwangalli Beach went up another level. Microcosmos has always been a song about seeing people, about recognizing the brilliance in each individual. And here, above the sea, 1,000 lights were quite literally making each member visible, each face a kind of answer to the song's own promise. You are the brightest star. You are seen. Each of you. There is something important to understand about the technical achievement here, beyond what it looked like from the outside. 1,000 drones is not a number that most people can visualize in a meaningful way. So let's put it in context. When BTS performed in Seoul earlier on the same Arirang World Tour, the going concerts that kicked off the tour in April 2026, Seoul's drone shows used approximately 2,500 drones. Busan chose to use 1,000, partly due to spatial limitations over the beachfront area. But according to officials from Swyong District who spoke to Korean media ahead of the concert, the programming for this show was designed to compensate for the smaller number through even tighter precision, more complex formation transitions, and a meticulous attention to the artistic detail of each image. The result was that every face carried overwhelming detail. One report specifically noted how the hair and the contour of each member's jawline were rendered with a precision that the team's planning and perfectionism made possible. This matters because it tells you something about the people who planned this. This was not a corporate product rolled out to sell something. This was a work of love, crafted by people who understood what this moment meant for the fans, for the city, for the members themselves. The Gwangalli M Drone Light Show is in its 5th year in 2026, one of the most technically sophisticated drone art programs in all of Asia. And even by their own extraordinary standards, this BTS special edition was described internally and externally as something they had never done before. A portrait show of this kind, 7 faces, each one rendered with this level of detail, was an undertaking that pushed every boundary of what drone art is capable of. Now let's step back for a moment, because I want you to understand what this night meant within the larger context of BTS's history, specifically BTS's history with Busan. In October 2022, BTS performed what many people believed at the time would be their last concert together for several years. It was called Yet to Come, a massive free concert held at Busan JiminMain Stadium, attended by roughly 50,000 people at the venue with millions more watching the live stream around the world. It was an emotional event in a way that is hard to fully articulate unless you were an army who watched it happen. Because everyone knew what was coming next. Military service. One by one, the members would be entering mandatory service in the South Korean military, and the group as a unit would be on pause for an extended period. Yet to Come was held in Busan, Jimin and Jungkook's hometown, for a reason. It was chosen deliberately as the setting for that farewell, because Busan carries a specific kind of weight in the BTS story. It is where 2 of the 7 members are from. It is the city that first shaped them, and choosing to say goodbye there, before the long silence of military service, was a statement. We're going back to where we began. We're going home before we go away. Now, in June 2026, BTS returned to Busan. Not to say goodbye, to come home. And the city received them the way a city receives its greatest heroes, with the full weight of its love, expressed through every landmark, every bridge, every billboard, and yes, 1,000 drones above the sea. The concerts themselves, June 12th and June 13th at Busan JiminMain Stadium, drew more than 110,000 fans over 2 nights. By Saturday evening of the first night, 55,000 people were inside the stadium. An estimated 50,000 foreign visitors had traveled specifically to Korea for this event, according to the Ministry of Justice. Fans from France, from the United States, from across Southeast Asia and South America, from every corner of the globe, had made their way to this city on the southeastern coast of South Korea. One army from Paris, 25 years old, told Korean media she had flown 14 hours to be there for BTS's 13th debut anniversary. From small shops to large department stores, she said. Thank you for welcoming Army. Inside the stadium on the first night, Jimin took the microphone and said something that I want to make sure you hear. He said, I'm so happy to be in my hometown on such a meaningful day, singing and dancing with all of you. Let's have fun tonight. That line, in his hometown, on such a meaningful day, carries everything. It is not a rehearsed line from a script. It is a person standing in the place where they grew up, surrounded by 55,000 people who love them, doing the thing they were born to do. Jimin has talked about Busan in interviews over the years the way people talk about the place that made them. Not just where they are from, but who they became. And standing on that stage in JiminMain Stadium on June 12, 2026, his face having just been drawn in light above the sea on the beach outside the city, the meaning of that moment was total. The setlist across both nights wove together new material from Rang with some of the most beloved songs in BTS's catalog. They don't know about us. Like Animals, Swim, 2.0, the Korean version of Normal, the new song set alongside Not Today, Mic Drop, and Fire, which, according to accounts from people who were there, turned the stadium into something between a mosh pit and a concert hall. And the most distinctly Korean moments of the nights, moments that grounded this global spectacle in the specific culture and language and identity of where this group comes from, were described as the emotional standouts of both evenings. Before the concerts, RM also spoke to the crowd, citing the BTS Fifth Muster Magic Shop show in 2019 and the 2022 Yet to Come concert as memories that Busan holds for this group. The thread connecting all of those moments, 2019, 2022, and now 2026, is the sense that Busan is not just a concert venue for BTS. It is a place they return to, a place they measure themselves against, a place that means something to them that cannot be measured in ticket sales or streaming numbers. Now I want to come back to the drone show one more time, because there is one more detail I think is worth sitting with. When the show was being planned, Swyong district officials worked in coordination with HYBE on the programming. They considered playing parts of BTS's songs alongside the drone display, and they followed through on that in the most beautiful way possible, choosing Swim from the new album and Microcosmos from the BTS back catalog. These were not random choices. Swim is one of the most talked about tracks on Arirang, a song that has already been described by fans and critics alike as a defining moment of this era of BTS's music. And Microcosmos, as I mentioned earlier, is a song that has always felt like a love letter from BTS to ARMY. Using both of those songs to score a drone show where 1,000 lights drew the faces of all 7 members in the sky above Gwangali Beach was not a production decision. It was a poem, and the setting itself completed the poem. Gwangali Beach is one of Busan's most iconic locations. The Gwangan Bridge spans the water in the background, one of the longest suspension bridges in South Korea. A landmark as recognizable to Busan as the Sydney Harbour Bridge is to its city. When the drones moved through the sky with that bridge glowing behind them and the waves of a sea below them and thousands of people watching from the shore, the result was, and I am going to use the word that multiple reporters used independently to describe it, cinematic. Not because it was performed, because it was real, because it actually happened above the city on this night for these people. Jimin has a specific and documented connection to Gwangali Beach. Fans who have followed his history with Busan will know that the Gwangan Bridge area is one of the places associated with him in the city's army tourism circuit. And while we cannot know exactly what it meant to him personally to see his face drawn in light above those waters, the waters he grew up near, the bridge he has passed under and over in his life, we can understand why this moment hit the way it hit. Not just for the fans on the beach, but for all of us watching from wherever we are in the world, knowing what that place means to him. Here is something else worth noting. The economic and cultural impact of what happened in Busan during those 2 weeks was significant enough that it was covered not just by entertainment media, but by Korean national news, economic analysts, and tourism authorities. HYBE released a statement after the concerts emphasizing the economic ripple effect of connecting the BTS, the city festival, to Busan's infrastructure, accommodations, transportation, food culture. KBD experienced booze, food festivals at Port Village, extended hotel stays, ARMY traveling not just to the concerts, but to all the BTS-associated spots throughout the city, Jimin's father's cafe in Daeandong, the murals of Jimin and Jungkook at Gamcheon Culture Village, the Gwangan-Degyo Bridge itself. The Ministry of Justice's estimate of 50,000 foreign visitors coming specifically for this event gives you some sense of the scale. Busan did not just host a concert. Busan hosted a global cultural convergence. And at the center of it all, in the literal center of the night sky above the sea, was the face of the boy the city raised. I want to say one more thing before we close out today's video, and it is something I think about a lot when I cover BTS content on this channel. There is a version of this story that could be told in numbers. 1,000 drones, 110,000 concert attendees, 50,000 foreign visitors, 13 years since debut. Those numbers are real, and they are extraordinary. But the number that matters most about what happened above Gwangali Beach on June 12, 2026, is not a number at all. It is the feeling that everyone who was there has described when they try to explain what they saw. A feeling that something was happening that was larger than a promotional event, larger than a concert warm-up, larger than a city government tourism initiative. A feeling that what was being drawn in the sky above them, those 7 faces, pixel by pixel, light by light, above the sea and the bridge and the waves, was something true. A declaration in light that these 7 people are real, that what they have built with their fans over 13 years is real, and that the cities and the beaches and the skies that remember them will carry those memories forward. Jimin's face was in the sky above Busan. His hometown looked up at him, and 1,000 drones held that image in the air long enough for everyone below to see it clearly, to feel it fully, and to remember it always. That is what happened that night. If this video moved you the way it moved me to put it together, please share it. Send it to an ARMY friend. Post it to your Twitter or Instagram. This is the kind of story that deserves to travel as far as BTS's music has traveled. And if you want to see our full coverage of BTS's Busan concerts, the Arirang World Tour, and everything Jimin related as we move through the rest of 2026, Subscribe right now and hit the bell so you never miss a single upload. We're going to be covering every moment of this era, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.